life, you have to be able to reside in mind. You have to be able to reside in that silence and simply observe. Observe how you react to this world. Observe how your finances look. Observe how your relationships turn out. Observe your health, the pros and cons, how you're living your life. And every day you have to say, you know what? How are my movements? How is what I'm observing matching up with my end goal, with my victory, with the character that I'm creating? How is it matching up with that? You know what I'm saying? And if it isn't lining up, you have to make.
Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you own based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. You must master two positions. You must become the alpha and omega of your life, right? Now, we've all heard that term, alpha and omega. You know, a lot of y'all, if you're like me, you grew up in the church and you heard, you know, the pastor talk about this, and it's a part in Revelation. It's mentioned 4 or 5 times in the Bible, I believe, about the alpha and omega. You know, but for me, you know, whoever was saying it in the Bible or whatever context it was put in, for me, when I hear that, I simply think about the creator, the all, God or whatever, in relation to this human experience, right? As far as like, you know, when I think about, you know, this world starting, whether it was the big boom theory or whatever you want to call it, you know, and when this world will no longer exist, you know, in my opinion, the source of all things is responsible for that timeline starting and that timeline ending, right? So if you understand that we're made in the image and likeness of this source, then you have to understand that we should be operating in this same manner, that we should be the alpha and the omega of our lives, right? That we should be the alpha and omega of our days. You know what I'm saying? Last night, man, we had a very interesting conversation, man. A great conversation in the power circle. And what we were talking about last night was the power of self-awareness. Who are you? Like, who are we? Like what character are we creating to play the game of life, right? And a small part that I spoke on was the alpha and omega. I didn't call it that last night. Last night I said we must be both the coach and the quarterback of our lives, right? And what I'm really saying when I say that is we must be in control. We must master, rather, right? Both the subconscious and the conscious portion of our lives, right? We must master two positions, right? So to understand what I'm saying, let's look at the role of a coach. Let's look at the role of a coach in football, right? The coach's job is simply to be an observer and a play caller, right? You know, the coach usually sits on the sideline. You know, he has his clipboard. He's observing his players. He's observing how his players are responding to the crowd, to the band, how they're responding to the defense, how they're responding to changes being made on the defense. He's responding to each attributes of his player. You know, at the same time, he's using a higher source. You know, at the same time, he's using his team up in the box that has a different view, that has a little bit more intel that he has. He's getting information from them nonstop to make alterations, right? And once he gets all this data, once he observes what's going on the field, once he observes the information that's coming from above, right? He's now in position to make another call to get to his ultimate goal. I'm telling you, brothers, we have to master that portion of our lives, right? Because that portion is what's in charge of our subconscious life. That portion is what's in control of creating everything we're going to experience in this life, right? So when the coach gets all of this data and he makes another play call, How does he call the plays? Well, that's the whole creation process that we talk about. That's, we talk about meditation, prayer, and all that stuff. And I've talked about all that in the recipe. If you want to get deep into that part, check the recipe out, and we'll cover that from nuts to bolts. But that's when you take all of that information and your plays are called in the subconscious world, right? So you call your plays, right? So that's the role of a coach. Now, the other side of the coin is we have to be the quarterbacks of our lives as well. What do you mean, Soul? You have to understand that the role of a QB is simply an executor of the play that's called. You know what I'm saying? Now the quarterback, his job is to take it play for play. A play call is called in, he's taking it play for play. His job is not to observe the whole game or the whole season or the whole franchise or the whole, the grand scheme of things. He's a play-by-play basis type position, right? So when a man wakes up in the day, wakes up in the morning, he needs to be in a full execution style mentality. He needs to live his life like a quarterback. He needs to wake up and know what the play is, first off, know what the mission is. He needs to be able to wake up and look at his day, be able to look at his opposing team, look at the forces coming against him. If he needs to check something off, check the play off and call something else, make those alterations and still work toward that goal. He has to understand that on a daily basis, when he's running that play, that he's going to be having some ops coming his way. He's going to have to master the stiff arm. He's going to have to master the spin move. You know what I'm saying? In order to complete the mission, to achieve the goal. So that's what I mean by a man must be the master of two positions. But ultimately, what I'm saying is he must be the master of his conscious and his subconscious world. So how do we master the two positions? How do we apply this concept to real world? You know what I'm saying? First off, before we even suit up, before we even show up, before we even come to the field, like there has to be an end goal. Like there has to be a prize. There has to be, something that you're working toward. There has to be a character in this world that you're trying to create. And if that isn't in place, it makes no sense to even show up, right? So you have to know where you're going. You have to know what you're working toward, or it's pointless, right? But to be a coach in your life, you simply have to be an observer. You simply have to be a play caller. Now, how that looks in real world, man, you have to be able to sit on the sidelines of life. You have to be able to reside in mind. You have to be able to reside in that silence and simply observe. Observe how you react to this world. Observe how your finances look. Observe how your relationships turn out. Observe your health, the pros and cons, how you're living your life. And every day you have to say, you know what? How are my movements? How is what I'm observing matching up with my end goal, with my victory, with the character that I'm creating? How is it matching up with that? You know what I'm saying? And if it isn't lining up, you have to make alterations, brothers. You have to make changes. When you're in this silent, you have to tap into those brothers in the box. Those higher versions of yourself, the fifth dimension, spirits, ancestors, whatever you want to call that. You have to get those downloads from people or from sources that have a different angle, man, that have a bird's eye view that can give you more intel. That's what they're there for. Once you get that information, man, you have to apply it to your life. You literally have to be the coach of your life. You have to apply this new data to the way you're moving and say, you know what? This is what I need to change. This is what I've been doing right. This is what I've been doing wrong. And this is what I have to change. And then you have to call a new play. But you have to call the plays. You have to hand that information off to the source, to the fifth dimension, whatever you want to call it, right? But then you have to master the other position as well. You have to wake up in the morning, you know what I'm saying? And be the executor on a daily basis. The difference, one of the main differences between a quarterback and a coach is like that coach, he has a different approach. His whole game plan is more based on the grand scheme of things. Maybe the entire game, maybe the entire season, the entire franchise, his whole career. He's looking at it from a different angle. That quarterback, if he's going to be the most effective quarterback, needs to look at every single play as the end goal. Like every single day of your life needs to be a play, and that's all you focus on. One of the youngest brothers, if not the youngest brother in the power circle, brother named Tom, man, he brought us, reminded us of a story a couple of weeks ago about Will Smith, and it's a story Will Smith was talking about. His dad was kind of teaching him kind of how to focus on goals, and when you're building a wall, you don't focus on the entire wall. You just focus on that one particular brick and lay that one particular brick as good as you can, right? That's what it's like when you're in quarterback mode. When you're in coach mode, when you go to bed at night, you're clearing your thoughts. You're laying out your new game plan. You're calling plays by releasing all of the negative and giving spirit all of this new data, right? When you're in quarterback mode, you're mission focused on that day. You're no longer focused on the grand scheme of things. You're focused on that day, that particular play. You know what I'm saying? And just like a quarterback, when that day starts, you know what the call is. You know what the play is. You're observing your day, man. You're looking at the defense. You're looking at your challenges that may come. You know what I'm saying? You're moving in a productive manner. Sometimes you gotta give a few things a spin move. You gotta deny a few things. When certain things come in your life, you gotta give them the Heisman. You gotta give them the stiff form. It may be relationships. It may be partners calling you up during the day, want to hang out. You got to get some of that stuff to stiff form, guys, if you're in full quarterback mode. Because you got to understand your job for that day is to get to the end goal. It's to get to the end zone. It's two different mindsets, guys. And I'm telling you, when it comes to success, and I use that word very loosely, when it comes to winning in your life, when it comes to achieving your goal, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, you must master both positions. You must be the alpha and the omega of your life.